Had it not been for Thomas Edison, this morning's guest wouldn't have been decorating for tomorrow night. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Embassy Suites Resort at Kingston Plantation, home of the 13th Annual American Hardball. Tomorrow, we're focused on the event and visiting with the longtime decorations chair, Rita Siegal-Levine. Good morning, Rita.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in. It is so close at hand. It's amazing.
I know. We're ready. It's here, isn't it?
I know. Tomorrow, and of course, Kingston's been working so hard behind the scenes, just like all volunteers do, to make tomorrow night's event a big success, Rita.
Yeah, they're wonderful to work with.
They are.
They are.
Yeah, and not to take anything away from the other venues in the area that have hosted the Hardball or host other amazing events, much like the Hardball. Of course, 4 years ago, were at the Radisson, now Sheridan, for the last 3 years at the Marriott. But to be, as Joe Delaney called, back home is a nice thing to be at the Embassy Suites this year. And they have really, as you know, I think at a recent Hardball meeting, the new executive chef came out and showed some of his wares and really made an effort to put on a great show.
Yeah, they're really excited that we're here, and that's nice. It makes it exciting for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Every place has been very nice, but it is nice to be here.
Yes, yes. Read about yourself. Are you originally from the area?
I was actually born in New Jersey many years ago.
Yeah.
And my family moved to Marion, South Carolina in 1963.
To Marion, really?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
in our viewing area.
The little town of Marion, and I came from a large high school, a regional high school, and I moved to Marion where there was 500 students, 8th grade through 12th. It was quite an adjustment shock.
I bet that was. And you were there for your junior and senior year.
Yes.
What prompted the move, Rita?
My father was in the light bulb business and in New Jersey, and they wanted to move the factory. And they had found an old tobacco warehouse in Mullins, South Carolina, and right on the railroad tracks, and it just seemed a perfect opportunity for a manufacturing plant there. And at the time in the 60s, South Carolina was just begging for industry.
Right,
and
right.
it was a great time. It was a great time for my father and my family and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we moved our light bulb factory to Mullins, and we lived in Marion, and it was a good time.
Was that a family business, Rita? Is that something that you or your siblings got involved in?
Well, actually, my mother was explaining the story. My grandfather, who started it, came over from Poland, and he had a partner, a Mr. Gallagher, and Mr. Gallagher knew Thomas Edison.
No way.
Yes, and Mr. Gallagher started making light bulbs, and he was a friend of Thomas Edison's, and so that's how they put it all together. And my grandfather went to visit Thomas Edison in New Jersey.
You're kidding.
Well,
yeah, of course.
in the early
Many years
1900s.
ago. That's right.
Yes.
It was your grandfather.
My father's father that started it. Yes.
That teamed up, but he was coming over from Poland.
He
And
came
somehow
over
got
from
hooked up
Poland
with
when
Mr.
he was
Gallagher.
16, and he hooked up with Gallagher in his early 20s.
Right, right.
And so this was in the late 1800s.
Right.
Early 1900s, and so they started doing this. So it was in the family for years and years and years, and then my brother Bruce got into it.
Sure.
My uncle, who was my father's brother, he stayed in New Jersey and was at the sales end, and his son came into it. So it was, it was a Siegel family,
definitely a family
for
event.
many years. Yeah, and I used to work there in the summertime, but I didn't get into it. I got a little bit more creative than making light bulbs.
Yes,
so
that you did. I don't think I knew all this stuff about you until we got it last week. This is tremendous, Rita.
Oh,
I mean, tremendous all that you've done, and to think about the expansion. Of course, we think about you and your volunteer role for tomorrow night's event, year after year, chairing the decorations committee. But of course, for your 20+ years of owning Dandelion Limited,
Yeah.
even more exciting, and the myriad awards you've gotten for beautification in the city, and probably even many more awards than you would lay out in just a paragraph here. But it's incredible.
I'm proud of Dandelion and what it's done,
Yeah,
really,
what
for
it's
downtown
done. That's
Myrtle
right.
Beach. You wouldn't expect to find a greenhouse in the downtown area, and it's very pretty, and we do take a lot of pride in it. Yeah.
For good
Yeah, we have a
reason.
fountain in there, and it's just a real nice place to come and visit. So
Do you encourage folks to come by to check it
Sure.
out, whether
they buy
spenders
or not,
Yeah,
just,
you want them to come see it.
We have very unusual plants and some very common plants, but everything is just kept up beautifully. So we like to say we're uniquely Dandelion.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I
Yeah.
like that. I've seen that. Of course, that's one of your taglines, or
Yeah.
the tagline,
Yeah.
uniquely Dandelion.
When I advertise with you.
Oh, well, in a lot of places, that's right. And your word of mouth marketing is probably your best form
Yeah.
of advertising, Rita.
Yeah.
I would tend to think you've got so many customers. I won't ask you if the plant behind your head is one of yours.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Is it really?
Yeah, we
No
take
way.
care of all the plants up here at the embassy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
we do flowers and interior plantscaping like here,
Right.
and Christmas.
And,
Big
and
holiday
a lot
decorating,
of Christmas
yeah.
decorations. I saw this past year you all have rented a warehouse and even store a lot of your customers' Christmas decorations.
Yeah, because
Which is
customers don't have the room for
Sure.
it. So this year we're storing.
That's a tremendous
it's-
byproduct of
Yeah,
your business. I'm
it's-
sure
it's-
customers are thrilled.
It was exciting to know that we had outgrown our own warehouse, our own
Right.
space.
Rita, now you did not jump from your senior year in high school in Marion into Dandelion. A lot has happened in between. Share with the viewers a little bit about you headed to the University of South Carolina. Were there, I think I saw, for about a year and a half.
Yeah, I wanted to go into advertising.
Right.
You know, and I've always loved art and creative things. But after a while, I just really felt like I wanted to go back up north. And so I graduated from a junior college with a associate's degree in retailing.
Right.
And I took a lot of art courses. And then I worked in New York for a number of years.
Yeah, I saw
New York
that.
City, yeah. And that was fun. I was a fashion coordinator for Simplicity Pattern Company.
Really?
And yeah, and that was fun. I designed their educational swatch books, which is, I used to go to the fabric houses and the trim houses, and I used to put together their sewing books for high school classes, for their home ec classes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's
And that was fun.
fascinating.
So I've kind of had a creative background. My mom's very creative, and so that kind of is where it led to me, and then where it led me to,
Sure,
because I was
sure.
in New York and met my first husband, who was from Myrtle Beach, and we decided to move back to Myrtle Beach, and I helped him for a number of years.
I saw that for a few years in his practice.
Yeah,
He was an
and
attorney.
He was an attorney,
Right.
but I eventually, I worked for him for 3 years. He took me out to dinner on a Friday night and fired me. And
That wasn't the end of the marriage. That was just the end of your work experience there.
Well,
Right.
it didn't last. It lasted a while longer after
Right.
that, but yeah, that was the end of my working as an attorney's secretary.
Yeah.
And it was okay because it wasn't really what I wanted to do.
You were trying to make it a little too decorative or creative in the office, and he
Yeah.
said, "This is cut and dried." Yeah.
It just wasn't for me. So anyway, I tried to do a few little things around Myrtle
Right.
Beach, but at that time there was no advertising company much.
Sure.
Or actually, I worked for Bill Darby for a few.
Oh yeah, I was
for a
about to
little
say it
bit.
was either LHW, Andy Lesnick had probably kicked off something in '71, I believe, and
Yeah.
Bill Darby had been around
Yeah,
since forever,
for a long
50
time.
years,
Yeah.
50 or 51. That's
So
right.
I helped Bill for a while, and
That's
then
great.
this
I did not
opportunity.
know that.
Yeah.
You did not
I
have that
didn't
on
put
your
that in there,
paragraph here.
no.
I'm going to tell Bill that you did not have that in your paragraph.
Yeah, I've done a few things around, and but anyway, yeah. Or if he's listening, he may say, "No, she worked for me."
Oh
So-
yeah, no, he will. That's right. It wasn't just Dandelion, and I'm I'm jotting that down for you to call Bill.
Okay.
Bill, if you're tuning in, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's amazing how things pass, and of course, 22 years at Dandelion, the location on Broadway, but it's been many more years than that. And share with viewers how you came about purchasing Dandelion. It was that you had a partner. And
Well, there was a gal that had a little flower plant business, and she was in Murrells Inlet, and she eventually moved to the Pink House Square, which is
Sure,
now
up on-
torn down,
yeah,
but right there at 44th Avenue.
Right.
And it was a wonderful location, and all the little stores, there were little shops everywhere back in the late 70s, mid 70s. And it was a nice place, and she moved there with her little flat plant shop.
Right.
And it was just when plants were starting to come, but people, it wasn't as busy as I would have liked it every day.
Mm-hmm.
But she and her husband decided they wanted to do some traveling, so we figured out what the little business was worth, and I bought her out. And I had gotten this idea to do, I called it interior plantscaping.
I love it.
And well, I didn't know other people were in the, using the same word, but I called it that. And there's a huge national organization. I mean, it's
With
all
interior
over.
landscapers?
Yes,
Really?
yes, I belong to. It's National Interior Scape Network, and but there's magazines, and just it's a whole. We meet once a year or twice a year and
Right.
everything. So, but I was doing that. Chikora Development was my first customer.
Is that right?
Coldwell
Wow.
Banker now Chikora,
sure.
and they're still my customer. So, and this was in the mid 70s, 30 years ago.
Wow, Rita.
Oh, my.
Yeah, to date you there. That's
Yeah,
right.
to date me,
And you've
yeah.
got a big birthday. Not to tell folks what the number is, but a biggie.
A
In
biggie.
8 days. That's
Yes.
right. On the 24th.
Yes.
A week after the Heart Bowl. I'm
Yeah.
sure you and Lewis will do something nice.
We'll
and
do
cozy
something
on that,
nice.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll do something nice. Last year, my mom gave me a birthday party. She wanted to do something for me last year, so I had my party last year. This year,
You're not going to remind her that your birthday's
no,
coming
no.
up. That's right. Your
Well,
mother
actually,
is still living in Marion?
No, my parents moved to Myrtle Beach a number of
great.
years ago, and my father passed away about 11 years ago, and my mom's living down here,
Great.
and it's very nice to have her here. Yeah, she just had a milestone. In January, she celebrated her 90th birthday.
9-0.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Well, we had a celebration. Her granddaughter was 30. I'm going to be 60,
right.
and my mother was 90. So we had 3 generations, and we
Okay.
had a nice family celebration.
Oh, absolutely.
So yes.
That's a tremendous, when you think about milestones like that, of course, we try to focus on milestones like tomorrow night, which really for us, for volunteers or whoever the volunteers are for the Art Association, each event leading up to it is a big milestone. A year has passed, and here's another Heart Ball, and it takes that much effort to remind volunteers that it is just that. It is a big milestone. A lot has to happen to raise funds to fight heart disease and stroke, the number 1 and number 3 killer. And, of course, that has
Yes.
impacted you and your family. I don't believe you're the only one that's had some attack with cardiovascular disease. or
No, my
stroke.
father had cardiovascular disease. He died of that, but he was a miracle man. He had his first bypass surgery at 50. I'm trying to remember now. I think it was 54, and then he had a second bypass surgery at age 71.
Is that right?
And he lived for 10 more years. So he definitely, and he passed it on to my family. My brother Bruce,
no.
who's run marathons and everything, had bypass surgery 8 years ago or 9 years ago, and I had a heart attack in 2000, November of 2000, and my husband is just now recovering from brain hemorrhage, which is a type of a stroke.
Type of stroke, right.
Type of stroke. When we were in a hospital in Charlotte for a month, and for his recovery and for rehab and everything, and it is referred to as a stroke. So we have the American Heart Association to be very grateful for.
Yes.
And we're very much supporters.
Well, I know, and you had talked about Lewis's, while you were there, a lot of the materials were provided by the American Stroke Association, which is a part of the American Heart Association, its biggest division, I guess, if
Right.
there is such a thing, or the two of them are intertwined. So
Right, the
continuously those dollars are reinvested in both of the groups.
Right, the book and all the information on strokes. We had a class on strokes and everything, which trying to explain to
To lay folks, like
lay
you and
folks
me.
like
Sure,
us,
sure.
exactly what happens if it's in one side of the the brain or the other side of the brain, and all of it was put out by the American Heart Association.
Right. That's tremendous. And it is dollars like tomorrow night's event that enable the Heart Association to put out program materials or educational materials just like that.
Right.
You have to have dollars raised, and a lot of folks say, well, the dollars aren't reinvested in our community. I don't want to be a part of it. That is not the way to think about it, because clearly the techniques, whether it's a CPR training or heart valves or stents, were created thanks to research dollars in the American Heart Association.
Right, and I mean, there's so much that goes into the heart ball that with making, with creating the dollars that we need for the, for education and for training and everything.
Right.
But yeah, everything. It's just a wonderful organization to be a part of.
It is.
It is.
Rita.
Very proud of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, of course, a lot of folks trying to imagine what all goes into making an event like tomorrow night's event. And we're literally 30-some hours away, 35 hours away. It's 7 a.m. now on Friday, and tomorrow at 6 p.m. folks will be rolling in. And a lot of folks arrive right on time. They're not going to let the 6 hours that they can take advantage of disappear, particularly with the tickets are expensive tickets. Folks wonder, how can I pay $175 a ticket? Well, of course, a lot of that, again, is reinvested right back into pamphlets on what is a stroke, how can you rehabilitate from a stroke, or what is heart disease, and open heart surgery, and
well,
we
people
need those
have to
dollars.
be educated, and especially women, because women don't have normal the same type symptoms as a man does with heart attack. A lot of times it could just be a pain in the jaw, a pain in the neck. It's not the same thing. So women really need to be made aware of certain symptoms and things. I believe heart attack is the number one cause of death in women.
Absolutely.
So
one out of every
I'm
two
very
women
strong
will
with it.
absolutely have died from heart disease. Very definitely. And of course, strokes impact a lot of women. And I'm not sure if the symptoms are the same for women as they are for men, but clearly some of the issues. I mean, did you read about that, or had you thought about it?
No, I've read about
right,
that.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
And of course, for yourself, Rita, what was that like back in November of 2000? Was that totally unexpected? Is that anything?
It was at the time yes, it was unexpected. I really didn't. I was walking every day, and like for the last couple of weeks when I was walking, I would get it felt like I got nervous, and I was like it wasn't hard to breathe. It was just that it felt like something was kind of tightening around my throat, and I kept walking, and then but I had all the symptoms. I woke up one morning, the morning I had the heart attack. They say most heart attacks occur on a Monday. Mine started at 2:30 Monday morning, a.m.
Wow.
Yeah. But on Sunday I tried to walk, and I couldn't walk even across the street. I had just gotten to the point where, and I had gotten nausea, which is a symptom, and then I overcame everything, and I was fine. And but when my heart attack started, it was the classic symptoms of the deep pain in my chest and pain down my arm. So I was classic, which and so
and at some
I knew
level,
what it
thankfully,
was.
you knew what was coming on, and
I did know
what'd
what
you
it was.
do? I mean, what?
You don't really want to know. Well, it was at Christmas time, and we were getting ready to do something, so I laid in bed for a few hours, and I got up and I showered, and I went down to the office, and I talked to the people, and I said, I think somebody better take me to the hospital.
No.
I think I'm having a heart attack.
Oh my God!
I know. I just think about it now. Don't ever do that. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, I'm so lucky.
Yeah, anything could have happened.
Yeah, anything could have happened. And I drove myself to the office. But it was Christmas time. We were doing a place, and for the first time, and I wanted to go over everything.
To be a part of that, right?
But never. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do.
So that's a call 911. Just
Call
get it on your
911.
own,
Don't even think about driving yourself.
Absolutely.
Very important.
As you know, and of course, it is incredible. Hilda Carter was with us on Wednesday thinking about all the issues, and she's been through a number of instances, and It's amazing to hear her talk about that. You've just got to call 911. You can't wait. Just do it whenever you have those first symptoms. That's what the folks that are answering those calls are expecting.
Yes.
They really need you to call and want you to call.
And they're very well prepared for that. I mean, I walked into the hospital, said I was having chest pains, and that was it. It was from there. It was just everyone treated me wonderfully.
Right.
And I was here at Grand Strand, who has a wonderful heart.
They do.
Program.
Great
It's just
heart care
wonderful.
program. They're one of the tops, I understand, for small hospitals or for mid-sized or even large hospitals, one of the tops in the country. So we're in a good place with Dr. Bryan and Dr. McIntyre, two tremendous cardiovascular surgeons or cardiothoracic surgeons, and of course a lot of great cardiologists who are really on top of checking symptoms and making sure and all the things that they can do. Andy Gresko was with us 3 or 4 weeks ago at Red Line Power Sports, and to hear him go through all the machinations that he has to think about for all of his patients of all ages, and the real serious steps that they have to go through to make sure patients are taken care of. It's a big deal.
And I had 2 stints, and I was just very, I think I was fortunate, although I guess surgery isn't as, it's an easier recovery now than it used to be many years ago, especially when my father had it. My father was the first man in history to have a double bypass in one surgery.
No,
he was in Houston
Rita.
with Dr. DeBakey. Do you remember
I've seen that name.
that
yes,
name?
Yes.
He and what
Your
they
father
did
was the first man in
to have a
history.
to have a double bypass surgery.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware
I'll
of
show
that.
you some information on that.
I'd love
and
to see that.
they had to dislocate his shoulder. They cut him from here all the way around his back to here, and they opened him up. So they broke his ribs, and that's how they did the surgery. And he was in the hospital for 3 months.
Is that right? There in
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Wow. Well, Houston sounds like it's the place. Ashlyn Clark, young 17-year-old senior at Sox High School, was with us last Thursday, who went had a congenital heart defect and went to Houston to see a pediatric cardiologist there for her surgery with blue extensions. It's incredible when you think there's locations and, again, research dollars. We just got a couple of minutes, Rita. We're thinking about tomorrow night.
Yes.
Some of the things that, for folks who haven't attended before, it's possibly too late to get tickets. It may not be. It's still important to go ahead and call the 626-3939 number. They may be able to add some tables up today. I know earlier this week we had to turn in the final counts on Tuesday of how many folks be attending, but if someone hasn't been, what are they going to see tomorrow night? What's going to be so special aside from your amazing decorations, which will be spread out all over?
Well, yes, we're going to have some wonderful decorations and everything, but the band is going to be wonderful. The food is going to be awesome. The company's going to be great. There's going to be, the auction committee has worked so hard on amazing auction items. And it's just going to be a fun night, and people will come and be entertained.
Yes, entertainment's a big part of it, very definitely.
As well as they need to give a few dollars to the American Heart Association.
That's exactly right. It's not all about fun and games. You know, Ann Lehman was with us on Monday, and we're thinking about that aspect. Diane Devon Stokes, as you know, who is a lot of fun, is, of course, emceeing that night. David Bennett, the coach from Coastal Carolina. Tomorrow night will be, of course, helping to auction off some of the live auction items. But then Ashlyn Clark, the young woman who was with us last Thursday, will be giving a special appeal of why it's important to think not only about folks who are maybe in their 50s and 60s, but also young girls who are 17 or 3-year-olds like Ann Lehman, who found out early on that she was a blue baby. These dollars can come in and have an impact at all ages.
At all ages, yeah. It's very important. And we're hoping to raise a lot of money this year.
Yes.
We have a big goal, and we're really want to get to it.
Can you give the viewers a sense real quick, Rita, of your decorations? We got a minute, and of course you've got a tremendous...
It's going to be kind of simple this year because my husband was in the hospital so much.
Right.
So we're doing cubes on the tables with floating flowers and candles. It's going to be very elegant, very romantic, and red, of course. Red flowers and red rocks, and then we're going to have some wonderful centerpieces around in the auction room. And at the entrance, we're going to do some nice little decor stuff.
We love it.
Big decor stuff.
Big decor stuff. That's exactly right. Well, thank you again, Rita. I know you'll be out here working to make tomorrow tomorrow night successful, and thanks for
Thank you,
everything you
Greg.
do. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's
Very
a pleasure.
definitely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People. Rita Siegal-Levine coming up next. What are volunteers doing over the next 34 hours to get ready for the throngs of people, 800, 900, maybe even 1,000 people that'll be rolling in here tomorrow night? Embassy Suites, Kingston Plantation. If you don't have a ticket, call the office. There may be an opportunity to still be a part of the event. 626-3939. We're so close. We're so close, and the goal is so large, $400,000. It's volunteers like Rita Siegal-Levine and Hilda Carter and Ann Lehman and all the others all week long. Todd Harms making such an effort to make tomorrow night's event such a big success. Be a part of it. One way or another, be a part of it. Call 626-3939. Let us know you care about the fight against heart disease and stroke.